Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to tackle a really core concept in modern data engineering, and that is the 4 Vs. All right, let's just jump right in. If you're anything like me and you come from a world of structured relational databases, all this big data stuff can feel, well, pretty chaotic, right? So where do you even begin to make sense of it all? Well, a great place to start is with a simple framework. So here's what we'll do. We're going to walk through the foundational 3 Vs, then we'll introduce a crucial 4th V, and I'll explain exactly why they matter. And then we'll tie it all together with some practical choices you can make in Azure. Sound good? Okay, so I've definitely heard people talk about the 3 Vs of data. It's kind of this classic term, but what are they really? What do they mean when you're actually on the job? So the first V is volume. And this one's probably the one you think of first. It's just the sheer scale of the data. We're not talking gigabytes anymore. We're talking terabytes, petabytes, and even beyond that. It's a mountain of data. Then you've got variety. And this is a big one for anyone used to neat rows and columns. Data today comes in all shapes and sizes, right? We're talking semi-structured stuff like JSON or XML, but also completely unstructured data like images, videos, audio files, the whole shebang. And that brings us to V number 3, velocity. This is all about the speed at which data is hitting us. It could be coming in through big, scheduled nightly batches, or it could be streaming in real time, record by tiny record, just constantly flowing. So let's recap. We've got huge volumes of all kinds of different data, and it's all coming in super fast. But with all that data flying around, what's the actual goal? Why are we even doing all this? And that is where the fourth and maybe the most important V comes in, value. Because what's the point of collecting all this data if you can't get something useful out of it? It's all about turning that raw data into actual, actionable insight. There's this great saying that value can often get lost in the volume. And it's so true. Without a clear focus on value, the other 3 Vs, they're just noise. They're a technical problem, not a business solution. The real challenge is finding that needle of value in the haystack of complexity. Okay, that all makes sense in theory, but let's get practical. If you're a data engineer or an architect, why should you really care about this 4V framework? How does it help you do your job? Well, here's why it's so crucial. Think about a platform like Azure. There are a ton of different data storage options. It's like having a giant toolbox. This framework, it's what helps you pick the right tool for the job. It lets you match your data's specific personality to the service that's built to handle it best. All right, let's make this super concrete. How does this whole framework actually apply when you're looking at a list of services in Azure and trying to decide what to use? Okay, so check this out. You can really see how different services are optimized for different challenges. For just sheer mind-boggling volume, you're probably going to look at something like Azure Synapse Analytics. But if you're dealing with a lot of variety, think streams of JSON data, then Azure Cosmos DB is a fantastic choice. And for that high velocity, those frequent little updates, Azure SQL Database is built for that kind of thing. And this right here illustrates a super common decision you'll have to make. On one hand, you have Azure Synapse. It's a massively parallel processing or MPP architecture. Just think of it as a beast built for chewing through massive batch jobs. It's your high-volume hero. Then on the other side, you've got Azure SQL Database. That's more of an OLTP engine, which stands for Online Transaction Processing. It absolutely excels at handling tons and tons of small, concurrent updates. That's your high-velocity specialist. So let's start to build out the bigger picture here. It's almost never about picking just one service, right? It's about how they work together. A really common pattern you'll see is using something like Azure Data Lake as this giant raw storage container for any kind of data, any variety, any volume. Then you might use Synapse to run your big analytical queries on that data, and maybe use SQL DB for the real-time transactional part of your application. Okay, this is awesome, but wow, it's also a lot to keep in your head. Is there like a simple checklist or a process we can follow when we're trying to make these decisions? For sure. You can absolutely boil it down to a simple 3-step process. Step 1, just characterize your data. Look at it through the lens of the 4 Vs. Is volume your main driver, or is it velocity? And what's the value you're after? Step 2, identify your primary challenge. Are you trying to ingest massive files, or are you trying to handle thousands of little updates per second? And then step 3 is easy. Match that main challenge to the Azure tool that's purpose-built to solve it. And there you have it. That's our quick breakdown of the 4 Vs. Honestly, just getting your head around this framework is the #1 first step to building data solutions in the cloud that are not just powerful, but also efficient and cost-effective. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So, to wrap things up, I want to leave you with a question to think about. For your data, right now, which one of these Vs is your biggest challenge? Is it volume, variety, velocity, or just trying to find the value in it all? Before you architect your next project, think about which of these is going to be the thing that really defines your success.